Danger, Will Robinson! Danger! No, Will Robinson! Danger!
Hi everybody, this is Carla and this is the first video I make for this new channel called Bookending, and basically what I'm gonna do here is I'm going to read the ending of books, every book that I read basically. And you know how sometimes an ending can kind of screw everything up? I mean, you might have really liked the book and then at the ending or close to the ending it just goes to hell. And sometimes you have a book that's really so George R.R. Martin and then like in the last 20 pages or so it just becomes the best book ever. That's basically why I want to focus this series of videos in when it comes to the ending of books that I read. I may also do like movies or TV shows maybe. Mostly I'm gonna talk about books, and because I wanted to start with one of my favorite books. One of my favorite authors is Rick Riordan. In fact, I love his books so much I actually run a fan site for them. That's how much I love them. He writes about mythology for children. I really love mythology. It's kind of been my thing all my life, really, since I was a little kid. I was that nerdy little kid who actually carried an encyclopedia around just because I was like writing down everything about the gods and goddesses and everything. I just wanted to know. I really liked that world, especially Greek, but really any mythology that I can get my hands on. Basically, that's what drew me to Rick Riordan at first. I mean, first to Percy Jackson, which is the most famous of his books, and then The Heroes of Olympus, which was amazing too. Kane Chronicles, which I haven't read, but I really plan to one of these days. I don't know why I haven't read them, but I will. And now he started a new mythology series. This time he is focusing on Norse mythology, and the first book just came out in October. The book here, it's so pretty. Look at that cover, it's so pretty. Such a pretty cover. I love this cover, okay? The artist is John Rocco, and he's amazing. I mean, look at Magnus, damn it! He looks like Kurt Cobain, which is an inside joke in the book, but I really, really love this cover. It's amazing. The book is the first book in the Magnus Chase in the Gods of Asgard series, which is titled The Sword of Summer. Yay! Because I already have experience with Riordan's books, basically read all of them except the Kane Chronicles, but pretty much every other book he's ever written I've read. So I kind of know his style, especially for these mythology series. Because of that, I'm not just going to read like the last chapter like I normally would, but this time I'm going to read about the last 3 or so. His chapters can be a bit short, so I'm just gonna start reading from the third to last or so, and then if it turns out to be too long, I'll just cut it off. I don't even know why I'm saying this, you guys will never know anyway. Good thing. I love my bookmark. I have many bookmarks, but I really love this one. So I'm gonna start from chapter 71, titled We Burn a Swan Boat, which I'm pretty sure is illegal. Because last we heard of Magnus, they had fought Fenris Wolf. They've been successful in trapping him again. And after that, Magnus kind of passed out, and then he woke up with his father, Frey, which I really loved. I think it's my favorite chapter of the entire book so far. From experience with Rick Riordan's previous series, the godly parents tend not to be really good. Even the good ones are kind of blah. Usually the children aren't as attached to them as I would expect a child to be to their parents. They have abandonment issues, they're just really irresponsible, all the gods. But in this one, Magnus actually, you know, hugs his father, even though his father has never been there. He's so glad to have a parent. I thought it was a really beautiful chapter. It was a couple of chapters ago, but then after that, they go back to Valhalla, and this is where we're starting right now. Chapter 71. We burn a swan boat, which I'm pretty sure is illegal. The funeral was held on the pond in the public garden. Somehow the Einherjar, I'm so sorry if I'm pronouncing this wrong by the way, Einherjar had gotten possession of a swan boat, the kind that normally don't play the waters during the winter. They'd modified the boat, turning it into a floating funeral pyre for the 3 Valkyries. This is so awesome, I love funeral pyres. The pond was frozen over. There shouldn't have been any way to launch the boat, but the Einherjar had brought along a friend, a 15-foot tall giantess named Hirokin. These names are so hard to pronounce, dude. Einherjar? I mean, what I assume you would pronounce it in German. I'm not actually sure that Scandinavians actually pronounce it the same way. I am so sorry if I'm butchering the Norse languages. Many left weapons, coins, or other keepsakes on funeral pyres. Some spoke about how Gunilla, Margaret, or Irene had been responsible for bringing them to Valhalla. By the way, spoiler alert, Gunilla died. That's kind of sad because I was actually beginning to like her, but somebody had to die. I didn't want it to be Magnus or Sam, so. There were no pedestrians in the public garden. Maybe magic kept them away. If any had been around, maybe some glamour would have kept them from seeing the crowd of undead warriors watching a ship burn. Glamours are kind of the new mist, I guess. My eyes drifted to the spot under the bridge where 2 weeks ago I'd been alive, homeless, and miserable. Only now could I admit how terrified I felt all the time. I love Magnus because he's a street kid and he's really tough, but at the same time he knows very well what his weaknesses are. He's not afraid to admit that he's afraid. Then the flames vanished as if someone had turned off the gas, leaving no trace of the boat, just a steaming circle in the pond. This would look so great in a movie. Hint hint. As my hallmates headed back home, I was happy to see half-born Gunderson slip his arm around Mallory King's waist. She didn't even cut off his hand off for doing so. I love them. They are amazing. I didn't know that I could ship a side ship so hard, but I totally do. Finally, Hearth signed. I'm going to Asgard. Thank you, Magnus. I'd seen the envious looks some of the Einherjar had given him. For decades, maybe centuries, no mortal had been allowed to visit the city of the gods. Now Odin had agreed to teach an elf. I love Hearth, he's my favorite character. Blitzen's Nidavellir, bah! Dwarves don't deserve my fashion brilliance. That red gold from Odin will buy me a nice storefront on Newbury Street. Blitzen's Best will be open in the spring, so you have absolutely no excuse not to come by and get fitted for one of these. He brushed aside his overcoat, revealing a glittering, stylish, bulletproof vest. I think this is so funny. I mean, the whole, Blitzen is a super designer thing is just hilarious. I love it. Alright, kid, alright. He patted me on the back. Let's not wrinkle the fabric. You're the expert, Sam said. As for me, I've got to get home. I'm grounded. I have a pile of makeup work from school. Sucks to be you. And you have a boyfriend to deal with, I said. I also ship them too. I can't believe I shipped them. In a book that has so little romance, it's insane how hard I'm shipping these little barely mentioned couples. She blushed, which was kind of cute. Oh, Sam, you're adorable. She's, I just want to hug her. Now that Odin has given us permission to travel the world, maybe I can come visit you in Dorchester. That, she said, is a truly mortifying idea. My grandparents would kill me. One of my favorite things about this book is precisely just how Sam, Magnus, Hearth, and Blitzen sort of became this little dysfunctional family. Yeah, other Riordan books also have that, but at the same time, this is the one that felt the most together. These four really are one unit. I said goodbye to my friends, then I went on to meet my cousin. Yay! Annabeth's coming back. 72. I lose a bet. Annabeth's gray eyes studied me the same way she seemed to study everything, assessing not just my appearance, but my composition, my stress points, my potential for renovation. That's Annabeth, she knows everything. This was a girl, after all, who had made Parthenon models out of runestones when she was 6 years old. The service was harder on Randolph, I think. He seemed pretty shaken up, considering, that he never cared about me. Or any of us. My dad, though? Magnus, that was difficult. He and I have had a rocky history. No kidding! But I'm trying to be honest with him now. I don't like hiding things. Total total sense. Makes total sense. Some dangerous things were happening. It had to do with my father's side of the family. Magnus, I might understand more than you think I do. Yes, Magnus, she might understand better than you think she does. Totally. Tell her. I am so... He needs to tell her, okay? He just needs to. He needs to. Come on, Magnus. On the other hand, I didn't want to put her at risk or threaten the tenuous relationship we were starting to reconstruct. No! Tell her! Tell her! He won't tell her, will he? I'm okay now, I assured her. Damn it. Uncle Randolph can't know about it. I'd appreciate it if you didn't tell anyone, not even your dad. Damn it. She said. I don't suppose I get details? No, you won't. I thought about what Frey had told me. You should talk. You will need her help before all is said and done. Yes! I agree with that very much. Very, very much. I remember what Sam had said about her own family, how they'd attracted the attention of the gods for generations. Randolph had hinted that her family was the same way. That's a good point. I mean, yeah, it's not even just the Norse gods, but also the Greek gods. What is it about the Chase family, really? I just don't want to put you in danger, I said. Please, Annabeth laughs in the face of danger. Come on, dude. You clearly don't know your own cousin. I kind of hoped you would be my one connection through the regular world. That's hilarious. That is hilarious. I love that. Annabeth stared at me. She snorted and began to laugh. Of course she is. Come on. Magnus, if you had any clue about how weird my life is. Heck yeah. After all the crazy fighting between our parents, the stupid grudges, and the years of not speaking to each other, I was hoping we could make our generation of the family not so messed up. Good point. Lunch? I suggested. I know a great falafel place. You got a bet, she said. Let's hear what you've been up to. Oh no, I said. Your story's so amazing, you go first. Heck yeah, they leave it here for the chapter, but I really do hope that he told her and she told him. I want the very beginning of the next book to actually be like Magnus and Annabeth just talking about their lives. And from the title of the chapter, which was I Lose a Bet, I would assume that, yeah, she told him and her life is way weirder than his. I mean, you've only had one book, Magnus. Come on, moving on. Epilogue. I am not entirely sure I needed an epilogue, but okay. Randolph hadn't slept since his nephew's funeral service. He cried real tears, boo-hoo. But not for young Magnus. He wept for everything he'd lost, everything that might never be recovered now. Yes, because you're an asshole. He removed his snow boots and his heavy coat, and then padded upstairs, going over what he'd said to Magnus on the bridge for the millionth time, wondering what he could have done differently. Nothing, because you're an idiot. Visiting the gravesite again, Loki grinned. Honestly, I thought the service provided some excellent closure. Loki's awesome, by the way. He's totally different from the Marvel Loki, but I really like him. You were the priest? Randolph sighed. Of course you were the priest. Duh. Those brilliant eyes, the hair like flames, the ruined lips, and the scars across his nose. He was unnaturally handsome and unnaturally terrifying in equal measure. That is a fantastic description of Loki, by the way. I love it. Randolph tried to remain calm, but his heartbeat still pulsed in his ears. Yeah, I don't feel 1 ounce sorry for you, okay? The god rose from the desk and opened his hand. Above his palm, flames flickered, consolidating into the miniature shapes of a woman and 2 girls. They writhed in the fire, reaching out to Randolph, suddenly pleading. That image of, like, his hand and the fire in his hand, that strangely reminds me of the first Percy Jackson movie. I know it's probably not what Rick Riordan expected because he hates the movies. It's weird because it reminds me of Hades. He had the image of Percy's mother in his hand. That's strange. Just tell me, do you still want your family returned? Of course. Oh, good. How nice. Because I'm not done with you. Nor am I done with that little boy, Magnus. Loki stepped forward. He cupped his hand on Randolph's cheek. An almost tender gesture. Ew, that's creepy. Your nephew is impressive. I don't see the family resemblance at all. Neither do I. I'm still hoping that they say that Randolph is adopted. I'm sure you'll find a way to explain the horrible hand-shaped scar on your face. I think it lends you a certain gravitas. The Vikings will be most impressed. I love Loki. Ragnarok has many triggers, my friend. The Sword of Summer is not the only weapon in play. That's actually true. There are a lot of, like, quote-unquote signs of Ragnarok. Death of Baldur, giant red rooster flying over across the skies or something. I would imagine it's a phoenix. More, signs of the beginning of Ragnarok. He plucked a necklace from the display. His eyes gleamed as the small silver hammer pendant swung between his fingers. Holy shit, that's Thor's hammer, what? Oh yes, Randolph, Lucky grinned. You and I are going to have lots of fun. That's the end. And holy crap, this book totally didn't suck. Book was pretty great. I love that he's actually really true to Norse mythology, even though Norse mythology is like really gross and really harsh and people wrap around their own intestines and stuff like that. It's really gross, but I don't think Riordan shied away from it, especially the Loki parts. He would actually like be really gruesome, even though this is a book for children, and I really love that. As far as the ending goes, I love that Magnus spoke to Annabeth and finally told her everything, and I hope that she told him everything, because I really want to see them like team up. I know that Annabeth isn't going to be like a huge part of the series. She has the experience. She has one parent that she didn't know, just like him, and I think it could be really great. And Magnus needs someone. I mean, he has a family in Hearth and Blitzen and Sam, but he needs an actual family. I mean, really. So I really like that, and I like that Annabeth can actually relate to someone in her own family, because she's just starting to get along better with her dad. I think it's really good for her to actually have someone in her family that she feels can understand her. And then the epilogue, in case you didn't notice, I cannot care less about Randolph, okay? That dude is a total D-bag. I cannot stand him. I hope by the end of this series he's dead. Even now then that he's got like the sub-story that Loki has his wife and daughter, I still don't care. I mean, maybe I'm just a horrible person, but I don't care about Randolph, okay? I would like to see the wife and the daughter actually come back. I'm kind of starting to think that maybe they're not alive anymore and it's just Loki kind of tricking him. I wouldn't put it past Loki because he is the trickster god, right? I would like to see them come back, but I want Randolph to die. Like, really bad. Loki, I love. I'm still kind of mind blown by the reveal that Randolph had Thor's hammer, because we know that the next book is called The Hammer of Thor, coming out next October. I didn't expect Loki to have the hammer already. Does that mean that Magnus and company are going to fight Loki next book? I was kind of imagined that Loki would be like the last big bad, so by like the third book maybe that he would come into actual play. But I love him, so the more Loki I get, the better. So yeah, all around a great book, and I don't know, I just really love it. Rick Riordan's Magnus Chase and the Gods of Asgard, book 1, titled The Sword of Summer. Again, free illustration by John Rocco, and be sure to get this book because if you love mythology, you're gonna love it just as much as you loved the Percy Jackson series, the Heroes of Olympus series. This is just right in the same flavor. I love the return of the book titles, and Magnus is such a great hero. There's kind of gray area to him in a way that Percy doesn't necessarily have. Percy's such a hero, 100% hero, but there are gray areas in Magnus, so he doesn't want to be, you know, fighting. He can't fight. That's great. It's good to have a different type of hero, because we had Percy, we had Jason, and they're all very fighty. They're great at fighting, so that's what they do. It's great to have Magnus be a little different. Now I really want there to be like a crossover where Magnus can meet Will Solace, because I think those two would be best friends. That's about it for this book. Once again, really recommend it. Be sure to buy it if you like mythology. And if you haven't read Riordan's other series, be sure to find them because they are great. They're heartfelt, they're hilarious, you're gonna have such a great time with these books, even if they're for children. I mean, I'm 30 years old, I'm still reading them because I love them. They're fantastic, so give them a try if you can. And I will be back later with another book endings, you know, when I finally get around to reading another book. I'll see you guys, bye! The funeral was held on... In fact, I love his... Whatever.